So it's like, it would be the funniest thing if I got transferred into inches and I'm making this video. I'm like, yeah, so get into MENU, but I'm not gonna be in it. You're not gonna see me there.
What is up, people of the internet? My name is Avery and I've just finished my second year of electrical engineering at UBC. But throughout my second year, I always wondered what second year was like for all the other engineering programs at UBC. So I reached out to a bunch of people, and in this video, we'll be covering almost everything you need to know before heading into second year manufacturing engineering at UBC. Timestamps will be in the description below if you want to reference certain parts of this video again in the future. And without further ado, let's dive into second year manufacturing engineering.
Hey everyone, my name is Dalisio, and this year I finished my second year in manufacturing engineering. Yeah, so manufacturing was my first choice for two reasons specifically. So I felt like MENU was the closest discipline to MECH while not having that timetable that MECH has, which is for a lot of people quite stressful. And also, MENU had a lot of courses for different disciplines, which was something that my second choice, civil, didn't have. So as you'll see during the video, I have courses for ELEC, for CPEN, for MECH, for materials. So that was something that really drew me into MENU. Yeah, so me personally, I took 6 courses in term 1 and 5 courses in term 2. Not talking about the 6 and 5 course load. In general, you should be expecting 39 credits for MENU in second year. Yeah, so 223 was a coding course where you learned about C#. It was a pretty interesting course to me. It was a big improvement on APSC 160 in first year where you learn about C. I felt like the things that I was learning were actually useful for something outside of the course and not just to solve problems in the course. So for 223, you can be expecting around 3 hours of lecture every week plus a 2-hour tutorial every week as well. There's 2 midterms and 1 final, and all of those are on paper, so be ready. Yeah, so ELEC 203 is, as the name says, it's the basic circuits course. From what I've heard, it's quite similar to the ELEC version of it, where you learn about DC, AC, and op amps. I thought the course was pretty doable. There was not a lot of content, and all the content flowed really well. We also had a really good prof. You can expect 3 hours of lecture every week, plus a 2-hour lab that happens every other week. We had 1 midterm and 1 final, and that was most of the course grade. Yeah, so Mini 201 was the technical communication course, and you basically just learn about dealing with other professionals in a future job. So you get to do meetings to either decide on your future salary or to solve conflicts within a company. I thought the course was very interesting. Our prof, Matthew Wong, was amazing. It was just a really fun course for me. For lectures, you can expect 3 hours a week as well, and that's about it for the lectures. You have to do quite a bit of work outside, a lot of writing. So if you don't like writing, be prepared, because it's a lot of work. We had 1 midterm and 1 final assignment. Yeah, MECH 261, the thermodynamics course. It's kind of an upgrade from what Phys 157 was in first year, but then you add a lot more numbers. You have to look through tables, you have to look through pages and pages. I think it's around 15 pages of different values that you have to find. It was kind of difficult to get used to it, but once you get the flow and once you understand how the prof teaches the course, it's not that bad. You have 3 classes every week, 3 lectures every week. It's 1 hour each, and you also have a 2-hour tutorial every week. There was 1 midterm and 1 final. Yeah, so Math 253, I personally took it during the summer, and I highly recommend you take that during the summer. I don't really have much to say because Avery already has a video on it, so feel free to, the link's gonna be in the description, so just go to that. So Math 255 was one of my favorite courses the whole year. This year it worked a bit differently than it usually does, where we had like a mastery system. I don't think it will happen again, but if it does happen, be prepared to have a lot of fun. What we had to do basically was that every week we would have a quiz on stuff we learned the week before. You could either get 0 or 100% on each of the questions. If you got 100%, you never had to do a question on that again, which meant that if you finished the course getting the questions right for every single one of them, you didn't have to do the final. And that's what happened to me. So I ended up getting 100% on that course. You can expect a lot of work. So there's gonna be web work every week. There's quite a bit of stuff. And this course is not similar to the other ones where you can slow down on how much you learn. And when you're closer to the midterm, you can learn everything. Because there's quizzes every week, you have to really know what you're doing. So that really keeps you on track of everything, and I personally really enjoy it, and doing well is especially good. So you can expect 3 hours of lecture every week, and that's about it. APSC 278 is a material science course, which basically you'll learn about the microscopic part of materials and learn about why they behave the way they do. So you'll learn a lot about why certain materials are ductile and certain materials are brittle. And I thought it was a pretty interesting course with a lot of memorization. You should be expecting 3 hours of lecture a week and 1 2-hour lab every other week. And this lab is 279. So you have 278, which is the lecture, and 279, which is the lab. There was 2 midterms and 1 final. So MECH 265, as I mentioned before, out of my 5 courses in second term, that was the 1 course that I dropped. But I can give you a brief idea of what 265 is. It's a course where you learn about how machines work. So think of if you have like an arm or like some machine where you have to understand how it moves around. So you'll do a lot of that. It's kind of similar to what you did in Physics 170 in first year. But there's a lot of moment of inertia, you'll do a lot of gears, and also 4-link mechanisms. You have 3 hours of lecture every week, plus a 1-hour tutorial, and there is 1 midterm and 1 final. Yeah, so MECH 260 is kind of similar in some aspects to MECH 265, where a lot of it is just a level up of 170. So you can basically treat it as 170.2 or the evolution of that. Basically the first topic is you just go through exactly what you did in 170, and then there's some evolutions where you do a lot of bending, you have a lot of moment of inertia, and it's quite a bit of stuff to do. For this year it worked a bit differently where we had 4 midterms and 1 final. I think it worked quite well. It was the first time, so there were still some things that they have to fix, but we managed to really separate the course in a lot of parts, and I feel like it worked quite well. You can expect 3 hours of lecture every week plus a 1-hour tutorial, and yeah, just be on top of things and you'll do well in the course. Materials 263 is the fluid mechanics course. It can be quite difficult because it is one of those courses where you really have to know the topic. It's not a thing where if you do a bunch of questions at some point you'll get the pattern. You really have to know what you're doing, and that can be quite difficult at times. Also, the professor can be quite difficult at times. His notes are all on paper. It's just a PDF of his work on paper, and you really have to like figure out what he's writing down, and it's kind of difficult to understand. He has a lot of stuff to say and he knows what he's talking about. So if you really pay attention to it, you'll do completely fine. It's 2 hours of lecture every week, plus a 2-hour tutorial every week as well. There is 1 midterm and 1 final. And for both of those, you're never gonna see a question that is on those exams. You will have never seen it before, so be prepared to know what you're doing. Yeah, so Materials 264 was, I think, the most boring course I've taken so far, including first and second year. Basically, we didn't do anything. We've only had 3 modules, and it's a 4-credit course, which I felt like was a waste of time. It is a heat transfer course where you learn about convection, conduction, and a lot of those things, as well as radiation. It was kind of, we just didn't do much. Every lecture, I felt like the teacher taught really well, but also we just didn't go through a lot of content. And yeah, it was kind of a frustrating course. I really hope that in the future they do change that, and don't be worried about that because 264 will be probably the easiest course that you'll take in second term. You can expect 3 hours of lecture every week plus a 2-hour tutorial every week, and there was 1 midterm and 1 final. So MECH 230 is a year-round course, so it starts in September and it ends in April, where every week you're doing new labs, you're learning different processes, or you're learning about different materials. I had a lot of fun with it. It was kind of our biggest introduction to the manufacturing world, and I guess 2 highlights was the first lab we ever had, We got to disassemble a small engine, and it was pretty fun, and I felt like I was actually doing something that was realistic to the real world. And another highlight was closer to the end in term 2, where I did welding. Yeah, manufacturing is the only undergrad program that does welding. So if you're interested in doing that, if you want to make quite a lot of money doing welding, MENU might be an option. And for every week, you can expect a 1-hour lecture plus the 2-hour lab every single week. It's not a lot of stuff to do outside of those lectures and labs. We go through about 5 modules, and there's 3 quizzes for those modules and no final whatsoever. Yeah, so because MENU is a smaller program, this year was about 53 people, and you can expect around 50 to 60. There's not a lot of variation in timetables, so I feel like if you're really thinking about what timetable to pick, the 2 things you should really focus on is which one your friends are taking, or if you have an extracurricular or anything else that you want to take, be in university or outside. Look at the time for that and work your way around it. The only change that each of the timetables have is different labs and everything, but it's not too big, so it shouldn't be an issue. You're kind of stuck for a lot of the professors, but I feel like it's quite important to really understand how the professor teaches and kind of work your way around it, because you don't have a lot of options. I feel like one professor though to avoid is Kefe Wen. He was the prof that taught MENU 265. He actually got switched out in week 7, so that was quite late because a lot of people were struggling with what he did, and he was actually one of the reasons why I dropped the course in the first place. So it's going to be difficult to avoid him for MENU 265, but if you do have a future course where he is teaching, I think it would be ideal to reconsider. Yeah, so talking with people from other programs, I felt like I was quite lucky for profs. I feel like I had a lot of good profs. One specifically, Matthew Wong, he was probably one of my favorite profs that I had in second year. When you're in the lecture, even though for a lot of people that I talked to, the content for 201 was kind of boring, the way he expressed himself in class and the way he explained everything made it so interesting, and he's also just an amazing person. I know he teaches other courses for other programs. I know he teaches materials 201 as well, so if you do see his name there, take the course. You're gonna have a great time. Yeah, so I thought the course load was a bit easier compared to first year. Not necessarily because of strictly talking about hours, but I feel like I learned a lot from first year from my failures. So I feel like if you're coming out of first year and if you've been able to really understand what went right and what went wrong in first year, you'll do fine in MENU. So it's really just go to lectures, just pay attention to everything, and you'll do fine. I believe there's only 2 courses that you can change semesters for. It is MECH 260 and APSC 278/279. I wouldn't say I wouldn't or would recommend changing them around. Usually for the timetable, for MENU, you take them during the second term. Although you can change it to first term, I don't see the point really, because a lot of the first term courses are not swappable for second term. So I feel like generally just following the timetable will work best. Yeah, although I don't think there's many courses that are really worth dropping, especially for the lighter course load for MENU, the 2 courses that would be slightly better to drop would be MENU 201, which is the technical communications, or MENU 261. The only reason for you to drop those 2 courses is because they're not really prereqs for future courses, so you could delay those 2 for a little bit. I don't think there's a lot of preparation that you do need to do, so maybe study up early for some courses. The only thing that I would recommend you to do earlier would be to take Math 253 during the summer. It makes a complete difference, because if you don't do that, you'll have 7 courses in term 1, which can be a lot of work. If you suffer that in second term for first year where you had 7 courses, you do not want to go through that again, most likely. So taking that during term 1 of the summer would do wonders for your learning. Yeah, don't quote me on it because I don't really have strict values, but I would want to say that maybe 50% of the people that I talked to in MENU were able to get in. So I would say 50 to 60%. It's not like everyone will get in, but it's not like it's such a tiny percentage. So you have good chances of getting in. Yeah, I feel like there's I would say three things that the program quite helped me with, which is the first one, because you have the co-op board, you have all jobs in there, so you don't really have to scatter around and try to find things on different websites or look at individual websites for companies to find whatever job you want. You can really go to the co-op board, and the jobs that are there are most likely aimed at you, so that really helps. The other thing that really helps is that they offer you mock interviews, also reviews for cover letters and resumes. So if you're uncertain about those two, you can really go to them. You can book an appointment on the co-op board and they'll help you with that. Personally, I didn't use the 2 reviews for cover letter and resume, but I did use the mock interview and I felt it really helped me a lot. And the last reason is because one thing that you'll realize for a lot of co-op positions is that they require you to be in the co-op program in the first place. So there's a lot of people that I feel like say that they'll be able to get jobs outside of, they don't need co-op to get jobs and to get internships. But what I experienced personally was that a lot of those positions required you to be in that in the first place. So be wary of that. So I am not in a design team, but one thing that I do is I get a lot of practice and I try to teach myself a lot of things using resources online. So I feel like 2 things that I've really taught myself a lot was programming and also CAD modeling. I feel like these 2 things are very important for a lot of co-op positions and also just future engineering things that you have to do. So even if you don't get into a design team in second year like I did, I feel like not giving up and trying to get those skills in and really learn those will really help you in the future. If you do try to maybe get into the co-op program or try to get another internship outside of the program or even getting into the design team. So those are really worth it. Yeah, so I think these survival tips are useful for any discipline you're going into, and I feel like following them will really work for your time at UBC as an engineering student. So the first one, which I feel like is the thing that if everyone did, it would be so much better for everybody. So if you have a due date for an assignment, just put that due date 5 to 7 days before it's actually due. Trust me, it'll be so much better. So the problem with that is that you have to start that very early on in the term, because if it takes you too long, then you'll have to catch up to everything and it'll be terrible. But I feel like having a lot of days, doesn't even have to be a week. I'd say maybe 4 days before it's due, just giving yourself the time to get through everything and do the assignments and not cram everything will do well for your mind, for your physical, for everything, for your stress levels, and it's just ideal. The other thing, just go to lectures. As you heard when you started first year, when you went to the arena, what did he tell you? Go to lectures. And it's true. If you go to them, if you pay attention to maybe 60% of the lecture or even less, you'll do fine in the course. Trust me, it'll do wonders to your learning, and honestly, you're paying to be in university, so use that money. That's a lot of money and you really should use that well. The other thing, create a routine. It doesn't even have to be like a strict schedule where you finish one thing and you have to start the other right after. But maybe having like a to-do list where you slowly complete each thing will do wonders to just everything you have to do. And also the last thing that's quite important, just welcome failure. If you had an easy time during first year, or if you had a tough time in first year, at some point you'll fail in university. So just being prepared for that and knowing that no matter what you do and how much you fail, it's not gonna be the end of the world is pretty important and is what drives everyone to succeed. So keep those in mind and you'll do well. My favorite course in second year was APSC 278. Materials 264, easily. David Dixon, he is the whole joke. It's the Materials 263 professor, he is the inside joke. Only people that take courses with him will know what I'm on about. As I mentioned before, my favorite prof was Matthew Wan by far, he is wonderful. As I also mentioned before, Cafe Wen was my least favorite professor. I wish I would have taken more time to see what I did wrong in first year to fix in second year. So be it paying attention to classes more, which I didn't do, and I actually got behind on everything. So I feel like just really analyzing how your first year went, because there's so much to learn from that, and just learning what you did right and what you did wrong and taking that and improving upon that for second year is what I wish I would have done. I think it's a toss-up between either when I found out that I got 100% on my first course or when I got into the co-op program. I would.
You would? Okay,
I would.
What would you choose? What would you choose?
Engineering physics. I'm actually trying to transfer into that. I am.
You're transferring to it?
I'm trying to.
What a
I'm trying to.
hypocrite.
I'm trying to.
What a hypocrite.
So it's like, it would be the funniest thing if I got transferred into inches and I'm making this video. I'm like, yeah, so get into MENU, but I'm not gonna be in it. You're not gonna see me there.
And that's pretty much everything you need to know about second year manufacturing engineering at UBC. I just want to say a huge thank you to Dalisio for helping me with this video and for sharing his experiences in second year. As always, gently tap the like button, hit that subscribe button, and ring that notification bell to be notified whenever I release a new video. With that being said, I hope this video brought you value, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace out.